One thing that still really bothers me today is the use of orals within the community of bodybuilding. In my opinion, there's almost no reason to use them besides prior to a show or a very specific event like a strength endeavor. I just don't see them being useful, and the deleterious effects they have on your renal system can be too much for some people to bear, and in fact can shorten their career as a bodybuilder much quicker. And the effects of orals are much more acute and rapid. So unlike injecting a cc of testosterone, where that's going to have to accumulate in your blood serum and it'll be released over time as the fat is metabolized within the tissue you've injected it into, an oral almost is immediate. You put it into your mouth, you swallow it, it goes through your liver, it converts into the hormone it needs to be, and then ultimately you get the effects, genomic and non-genomic. Those rapid onsets of effects lead to increases in blood pressure, heart rates, respiratory rate, and all sorts of shit that can eventually lead to outcomes that aren't so good for the human being. Obviously, those being long-term deviations within blood pressure and liver enzymes, and also kidney ones too, right? Even acute high states of hypertension can cause kidney damage. This has been shown in many studies, and why training to failure might actually be dangerous, which is another topic to talk about on a whole nother issue. But my opinion is, if you're using oral steroids, you're doing something wrong. There's injectable steroids from every which direction you look, and I think that orals sound cool in theory. You just pop this pill, you get this astonishing rapid effect, and so it seems strong, like people interpret them as stronger. Well, I'm only taking 20 milligrams a week, bro. Well, that's 140 milligrams a week. I guarantee you if you added 140 milligrams of NPP a week, you would likely feel those effects within 2 to 3 weeks. It's just that immediateness of the oral that people really like, and it's also lower barriers to entry. All you have to do is swallow a pill. Ultimately, that's so much easier than injecting more fluid. And for those who don't like to inject, an oral seems like a great solution, and one that avoids the situation altogether. And I just ultimately think that the price you're paying health-wise and longevity-wise, especially when you're considering a career, isn't worth it. Now again, to get textural changes within the skin, to get textural changes right close to a bodybuilding show, I mean, like, I'm talking like 2 to 3 weeks out from a bodybuilding show, okay, that makes sense, because these compounds do have an astonishing effect to change like skin texture. It's very interesting, and I think that's due to glucocorticoid, mineral corticoid manipulation and other things, but it is astonishing. And I will say also the neurological drive of oral steroids is pretty impressive as well. So using it before a strength event can be something that's quite impressive and can actually increase PRs by a significant degree. I just don't think outside of those contexts, though, they're useful, and they're not going to put on more weight than, you know, a extra cc of testosterone would, in my opinion. And ultimately, that extra cc of testosterone isn't going to derange your liver markers, kidney markers, or blood pressure, heart rate, or sympathetic drive any more, or in fact much less than an oral would. And this is probably one of the bigger problems I see within the bodybuilding community, is dependence and idolization of orals. The idolization of orals. You see about this on forums, on YouTube, everything. Oh, I'm taking Anadrol, I'm taking D-BOL, I'm taking T-BOL. It's the best thing in the world. Anavar's sick. It makes you feel so crazy. Very true, it does make you feel good and euphoric, but there's a takeaway from that, and again, it's hepatotoxic. You ruin your liver by doing those things and potentially develop liver cancer and polyps on your liver, which people never talk about. Liver steatosis is a very large issue within the bodybuilding community. Many people succumb to liver failure, and you never hear about it. So I just don't like to fuck with orals. I just don't. And Anavar is one that is a little bit different, just because it's not as, for whatever reason, hepatic toxic. And this isn't research done. This is my personal anecdotes from working with clients, myself, and watching other people do these things. Anavar seems to be quite innocuous. But besides those, everything else seems to be really deleterious to liver enzymes and just overall inflammation markers, everything. So what would I do instead? Well, quite frankly, I would, instead of popping a pill, inject more fluid. And that sounds crazy to people, but even for females, I would much rather they inject Primobolan than take Anavar daily. I just see it as a much healthier outcome, and overall going to kind of sustain a longer duration of time doing this sport. And this is one area that I think a lot of people miss when they're trying to become bodybuilders. It's like, oh, I need Anadrol. You know, so-and-so said Anadrol is going to get me huge during the off season, so I'm going to run 6-week Anadrol, and then, you know, 50 milligrams a day. 4 days later, you can't eat anything, and you've just ruined your off season for another 4 weeks. So my 2 cents is, don't use orals, use injectables, and use the injectables that work best for you, and the most of the time, the bioidentical injectables, which would be your, you know, testosterones, your DHT derivatives, kind of in line with the bioidentical, but not quite. Nandrolone, kind of in line with bioidentical hormones, not quite. And stick with your peptides, insulin, human growth hormone, IGF-1. Those are going to be your winning compounds to use when trying to grow into an off season or into a show. Ultimately, you don't need these crazy ass compounds and these orals to get the goals that you are looking for, unless, again, you're like 3 to 2 weeks from a show is the only point in which they'd be useful. Really, I mean, I'm serious. Like, it's, you would be surprised at the reliance people have on orals. Like, oh, I'm doing leg day, let's take an Anadrol. It's not going to do much for you, man. Like, take 300 milligrams of caffeine if you want to take it up a step. That's good. Like, leave it there. My 2 cents. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. I am offering still a coaching scholarship, so please use the link down below this video to access that coaching scholarship. It'll fill out a form. For me, it takes maybe 3 minutes to fill out. I'll reach out to you and we can get on a call and discuss what that all means. My coaching is really one-on-one. I communicate with my clients on a daily basis. I Zoom call them. I check in with them weekly. It is a very personalized program. I guarantee you, probably more personalized than most coaches you know. So thank you so much. Deuces.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing and comment down below what you thought. If you'd like to hear more from me, please follow me on social media at Kolton_Red on Instagram and Kolton Lucas on TikTok. And if you'd like to inquire about coaching, please DM me on Instagram for more information. Thank you.